Hello everyone, my name is Elijah David, minister of the 12th Hour Apostolic Sabbatarian Congregation, Mount Zion, 12th Hour. In Liberty Hill, Texas, today is June 27, 2013. It is the 19th day of the 4th month, 2017. We will start our first service today with a song entitled, "Each Step I Take, My Savior Goes Before Me." Each step I take, my Savior goes before me, and with His loving hand He leads the way. And with each breath I whisper, I adore Thee. Oh, what joy to walk with Him each day. Each step I take, I know that He will guide me to higher ground. He ever leads me on, until someday the last step will be taken. Each step I take just leads me closer home. At times I feel my faith begin to waver, and up ahead I see a chasm wide. Yes, then I turn and look up to my Savior. I am strong and He is by my side. Each step I take, I know that He will guide me to higher ground. He ever leads me on, until someday the last step will be taken. Each step I take just leads me closer home. I trust in Him, no matter come what may, for life eternal is in His hand. He holds the key that opens up the way that will lead me to the promised land. Each step I take, I know that He will guide me to higher ground. He never leads me on, until someday the last step will be taken. Each step I take just leads me closer home. Okay, folks, we have a treat for you today. We're going to continue on our series here with part number 5. We're in Shepherd's Rod Tract by the V.T. Harlip, the number 1 condensed tract that he upgraded from the original Shepherd's Rod Volume 1 book. We're into the place where Pharaoh is telling the Hebrew servants down there under his command, we're no longer going to furnish you straw, but you're going to have to go and get your own straw and make the same amount of brick you've been making. And so therefore he put a little bit more of a burden upon their shoulders. Okay, so the General Conference President and his officers decided that they needed more work out of their people to make more bricks. And so they told the Adventists, you're going to have to get out and do some campaigning to raise some money yourself for us to operate on. So let's look at it now. It says on page 47 of this little tract, it says, and Pharaoh commanded, it says, no more straw. You don't get any more straw, folks. Okay. And Pharaoh commanded the same day that the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, ye shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as heretofore let them go and gather straw for themselves. And the taskmasters of the people went out, and the officers, and they spake unto the people, saying, Go ye, get ye straw where you can find it, yet not all of your work shall be diminished. Okay. So that's found in Exodus chapter 5, verse 6, 7, 10, and 11. And now just before the deliverance from their anatypical servitude, Seventh-day Adventists are circumstantially required to make up their budgets, goals, and various fees and other expenses, but when in need, they receive practically no denominational aid whatsoever. As with their types, everything, time, strength, money, and all is taken from them in return for which they are given virtually nothing. That's what our federal government does. They just tax you and tax you and tax you until they can't tax you. And then they still want more. In the former numbers of the testimony for the Seventh-day Adventist congregation, says the founder of the denomination, Ellen G. White, I have spoken of the importance of the Seventh-day Adventists establishing an institution for the benefit of the sick, especially for the suffering and sick among us. I have spoken of the ability of our people and the point of the means to do this, and have urged that in view of the importance of this branch of the great work of the preparation to meet the Yahweh with the gladness of the heart, our people should feel themselves called upon, according unto their ability, to put a portion of their means into such an institution. When I saw those who managed and directed of the running into the danger shown me, of which I had warned them in the public and also in the private conversation and letters, a terrible burden came upon me, that which had been shown me as a place where the suffering sick among us could be helped, was one where sacrifice, hospitality, faith, and piety should be the rooting principles. As nearly as I am able to judge, one half of the afflicted among our people who should spend weeks or months at the Institute are not able to pay the entire expense of the journey, and they tarry there. Shall poverty keep these friends of our Savior from the blessings which He has so bountifully provided? Shall they be left to struggle on with the double burden of the feebleness and poverty? Unto the afflicted among our people, I wish to say, be not discouraged. Elohim has not forsaken His people and His cause. Testimony, Volume 1, page 633, 641, and 643. Next in the type, we are led to consider the faithful midwives of Shiphrah and Puah. And the king of Egypt spake unto the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah and the name of the other Puah, and he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men and children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing, and have saved the men and children alive? And the midwives said unto the Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Therefore Elohim dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mightily, and it came to pass, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. Exodus 1:15-22. Whom could the midwives typically represent? Let logic and reason give the answers. The children born unto the Hebrew women in the land of Egypt, away from their homeland, can only represent the children born unto the Seventh-day Adventist congregation while she is sojourning among the Gentile nations. For the duty of a midwife is to be graciously received, immaculately washed and neatly clothed, also nutritionally nourished the newborn babe. So the ancient midwives must represent those whose spiritual responsibility of this day is to cleanse the student youth from the inherent sin, clothe them with the robes of the Yahshua's righteousness, and nourish them with the spiritual food. Teach the doctrines in the light of the present truth. For the only such agency for the youth of is in the church school. For the midwives refuse to kill the Hebrew children, therefore demonstrates nothing less than the fact that the teachers in the denomination schools of today are endeavoring to do the right thing, even if they have, as it were, to violate Pharaoh's wicked command. And this interpretation of the typology is concretely substantiated in an excerpt from the Home and School Journal of the Christian Education, a general conference paper on which every teacher in the Seventh-day Adventist denomination is supposed to subscribe. In the December 1929 issue of this journal, full of the Christmas keeping and Christmas programs and gifts, is a fair example of the accomplished trend at the time that the shepherd's rod began to unfold. As it is too lengthy to reproduce in the full, we quote only the very last sentence, the closing words on the paragraph, what Christmas may always mean. In this pathetic, the Adventist at Christmas time, a pagan ritual right out of Babylon, right out of Egypt, right out of heathenism, but there move the sacred desk out of the way and put a Christmas tree in its place, and ask the people to come up and put money in envelopes and clip it to the tree. Those Jesuit devils that's taken over the Adventist church, they'd do anything to glean a dime from the Adventist people. Those poor slaves, I'm telling you, you got them so many slaves, and they know it now. But these my Yahweh sends Elijah to you, speaking to you right now, Malachi 4:5, to bring you a message of deliverance. The only thing is, the Adventist time is past. The only thing left now is time for the 144,000 to appear that comes out of her range. Because truly the marking angel in Ezekiel 9, the one with the rider's inkhorn by himself side, the one that's dressed in linen, which is Yahshua himself, has already gone through the city of the Adventist church. And it's put a mark for those that a sign and crown for the abomination done in the midst of. Now, this process of purification and sanctification is a work of a lifetime. Ellen G. White stated that early on. Now, when Yahshua starts the judgment, which he already had, was struck everybody's out. He don't start it with the purified people. He starts the judgment separating those that are sign and crown against abomination in the church. They're not pure yet either. They're not sanctified yet either. It's like the disciples were when he called them to work for 3.5 years with him. The disciples were not pure. They weren't sanctified. After 3.5 years, they were not sanctified. At the Last Supper, they became sanctified. And Yahshua identified the accursed sin among them, when he identified it, and put them out from among them. That was Judas Iscariot, put out the one. And as soon as he put Judas Iscariot out, then he sanctified the other 11. 3.5 years they had been unclean, unconverted, not born again, disciples, learning their trade. at the Master's feet. Yahshua. That then, after his crucifixion and resurrection, they became converted. Okay. And so it says, same thing today. When Yahshua comes back a second time, he'll come in the volume of the book that's written of him. He'll come just like he did the first time. He was in this world 30 years, invisible. He was born in the manger of Bethlehem. And he was invisible for 30 years. Well, only his mother, his father, and his brothers only knew who he was, and they didn't accept him as the mother did, and the father did, but his brothers didn't. They didn't accept him as being the Messiah. Okay. Let's go on. And in the general baptism of the reality, simplicity, and sincerity in the observance of the world's supreme birthday, this Christmas celebration, to me, shows that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is completely apostatized and have joined the ranks of Babylon again, right back into Egypt. They can't claim anything else at this point. Now it says, for a general conference publication, to command the teachers to exalt in the eyes of the youth the world's supreme idolatrous day as the birthday of Yahshua is incredible. But as all can see, it is just as actual as was Pharaoh's command unto the midwife. For his demand that the male children be cast into the river was not in effect blocking the progress of the rapid increase of the Hebrew nation, but was a ruthless attempt to destroy the promised deliverance. And the defeat of Pharaoh's evil intent in that day foreshadowed the defeat of the modern Pharaoh's subtle endeavor to do away with the prophet of the day, the one who is to deliver modern Israel when the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. And you know who that is? It's Antiquary Elijah, the one who's speaking to you right now. Seventh-day Adventists, I don't know who you are or where you're at this time. Those of you that hear this message, you must understand that your time is past. Okay? And that as soon as 144,000 shows up, then you will know that the summer is ended and the harvest is over. Okay. And the confirmation that the Pharaoh of today is in effect doing all that can be done to cheat the Elohim's people of a deliverer in this day. We recite the fact that while the denominations inspired record plainly foretells the coming of a prophet, Testimony Message 475, a message additional truth, early writings, page 277, the members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church are not only left ignorant of it, but are even warned against it, taught that they have need of nothing, that they have all the truth to carry them clear through into the kingdom of David here on this earth, which is the same thing as the kingdom of heaven. The Yahshua sat upon this throne. All the time Yahshua makes his second coming back to this earth. And you know, Adventists are the last ones to know. He comes and sets up and judges the whole world. He starts a judgment with the Adventist Church, and they don't even know that he's returned. They're looking for a return in the clouds of heaven. Lift them off this earth in their sinful condition and take them back to heaven. Deliver them from this terrible, terrible place. The Adventists, for the most part, loves this world. You ought to see what they do on the Sabbath days in their churches all over the world. They can't even wait for the Sabbath service to be over so they can go and start doing their worldly amusements. Going and dining and eating and visiting and socializing and just getting out there. Well, they love this world. They love it. Okay. So, it says, to expose, in the words of the inspiration, modern Pharaoh's boastful and deceitful declaration of such a falsehood, we quote, prophecy must be fulfilled. For the Yahweh says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Yahweh. Somebody is to come in the spirit and power of Elijah. And when he appears, men may say, you are too earnest, you do not interpret the scriptures in the proper way. Let me tell you how to teach your message. Testimony Message 475. For the present attitude of the congregation is not pleasing unto Yahweh. There has come in a self-confidence that has led them to feel no necessity for more truth and greater light. We are living at a time when Satan is at the work on the right hand and on the left, before and behind us, and yet as a people we are asleep. Elohim wills that a voice shall be heard arousing his people to action. Testimony Volume 5, page 709. See also Gospel Workers, page 300. Okay, let's go. It says that the Pharaoh of the day is to meet ultimate defeat in his subtle endeavor is clearly revealed in the fact that not only was Moses' life spared by the ancient Pharaoh's daughter, but also was he reared at the king's own expense. For the typology reveals, therefore, the fearful defeat which the enemies of the work of the anatypical deliverer will suffer. Their unwitting endeavor to defeat Elohim and his purpose for his people is at their own expense, sure to turn into a glorious victory for the Yahweh. Having now seen that Israel's going into the Egypt is typological logic rules that so much must be Israel's going out of the Egypt. That the exodus of the Moses' day is a miniature demonstration of the exodus of the near future. For the Spirit through the Isaiah the prophet emphatically declares, and in that day there shall be a root of the Jesse, a nucleus of his descendants, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, and to it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest, the land where it stands, it shall be glorious. It shall come to pass in that day that the Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. Okay. So it says, that is those who are yet among the Gentiles, which shall be led from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Patroth, and from Cush, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of the Israel, and gather together the dispersed of the Judah from the four corners of the earth. For the envy also of the Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. There shall be perfect peace among them, that they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. For the Yahweh shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, that is, the world. That's the tongue of the world, of the evil. And with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make them go over dry shop. And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was in the Israel in the day that he came out of the land of Egypt. Isaiah 11:10-16. Very evidently then the pillar of the cloud the day, or by the day, and the pillar of the fire by the night, that so gloriously led the Hebrew host out of the Egypt, foreshadowed an even greater and more glorious protective covering, victoriously leading Israel of today, not only on their way into the land of the promise, but all the while they are there. For it shall come to pass, reveals the prophet, that he that is left in Zion, and he that remaineth in Jerusalem, after the sinner is taken away, shall be called holy. even everyone that is written among the living in the Jerusalem. And the Yahweh shall wash away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of the Jerusalem from the midst thereof, by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of the burning. The Yahweh will create upon every dwelling place of the Mount Zion, and upon her assemblies a cloud and smoke by the day, and the shining of a flaming fire by the night, for upon all the glory shall be a defense. There shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from the storm, and from rain. Isaiah 4:3-6. These prophetic passages with certainty forewarn that surely the sinners will be taken away from the Jerusalem, the filth of the daughters of Zion be washed away, and thus he promised that only the righteous from the four corners of the earth will have a part in the forthcoming antitypical Exodus. Okay. For the Passover too, in which perished all of the firstborn of man and beast that were found in the dwellings, which had not the blood on the doorpost, forespoke an antitypical Passover, in which all who are left without the mark, because of not sign and crime, for all the abominations in their midst will surely fall under the slaughter weapons of the angel of Ezekiel 9:2. When will this come to pass? The type unquestionably reveals the time through the fact that only the firstborn were then in the danger. Accordingly, the antitypical Passover will take place in the time of the first fruits harvest, the seeding of the 144,000, the first fruit. The first to go to the antitypical Jerusalem, the first to stand on the Mount Zion with the Lamb, and the firstborn by the Spirit. Obviously, all of the first fruits who receive the mark will live on, and all who fail to receive the mark will perish as surely as did the firstborn, who at the time of the typical Passover failed to apply the blood on the doorpost. Now in 2002, the prophet, the angel of the seventh candlestick, later said, Baroda Steady Johnson at Kermit, Texas, told us that this is an antitypical year of the Passover, for the Yahshua to come as a year of his redeeming. This is the year that he will collect the 144,000. This is the year of his redeeming, 2002. He was so sure of that. Okay. But it was the year of the antitypical Passover for the firstborn, the house of Esau. That's what Brother Johnson was in charge of. He's in charge of the church that got the first privilege to raise up the 12 tribes of Israel. And he was given an opportunity from 1970 to 2003 to make good and prove himself. That he could do better than the firstborn of ancient times. That he wouldn't have to die if he would repent and do what the secondborn told him to do. I was the secondborn. So he wouldn't do what I admonished him to do. I got my message from heaven, told him what to do. To get born again, he had to get born again. He refused to do it, proving that the firstborn are always designated to have the first right and privilege to be the progenitor of the righteous line. Cain, the firstborn of Adam and Eve, was given that privilege. And look what happened to him. Ishmael, the firstborn of Abraham, given that first privilege. Look what happened to him. Besides these most striking ensamples with their valuable lessons, the wonderful has for our enlightenment most accurately worked out even greater marvels of the typology. For the eye focused into the light of the heaven, it sees that the Yahweh Elohim, as a super artist, is with the employment in the scriptures every method known unto mankind by which to unfold the wondrous structure of the redemption, and now, while leading his people into his kingdom eternal, he employs for light on their way, even technology, the lives of men who have gone before and the experiences through which they have passed, and decrees that their defeats and victories should be the same stepping stones over every pitfall, and to arouse the spirit of man unto a realization of his wonder-working power and their inability to foresee the future, and thus to walk in the straight path. The omniscient one flings the challenge. Produce your cause, saith Yahweh. Bring forth your strong reasons, saith the King of the Jacob. Let them bring them forth and show us what shall happen. Let them show the former things, what they be, that we may consider them and know the latter end of them, or declare us things for to come. Show the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. Yea, do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together. Isaiah 41, 21 and 23. Who hath wrought and done it, calling their generations from the beginning, I the Yahweh the first, and with the last I am He. Okay, this is actually Yeshua. He's the first, last, it said Revelation chapter 1. Explain this is found in the statement I just read, it's found in Isaiah 41:4. Explain the cause, the reason, the insignificance of the former things he demands. Tell us, what do they mean? What are they for? Can you predict the future by the past, be it good or be it bad? Exhibits divine power if you can. Silence on the subject gives consent to the fact that only the great I Am can thus forewarn the generations, the first to the last, and he makes it known that though the experiences through which our predecessors were permitted to pass were for our ensample, yet even these we of ourselves cannot correctly interpret. But now at the appointed time, he himself reveals the significance unto the very people for whom they were originally and especially designed. Thus, by the former things, the world of yesterday, the great and only such typologist, has projected the latter end of them, the world of today. At the outset of this typology, it is seen that the woman Eve, who through her own seed, the living church, is to bruise the serpent's head, Genesis 3:15, typifies the church preceding the Hebrew dispensation. Next, that Hagar typifies the church during the Hebrew dispensation. And finally, that Sarah typifies the Christian church, or the one in the New Testament dispensation. All of these, the typology shows that Melchizedek, the priest of the Most High, Elohim, who has neither beginning nor end of the days, typifies Yeshua, our high priest, and his eternal work. And that Aaron, a high priest in the Jewish dispensation, typifies Yeshua, our high priest, and his temporary priestly work. While constructing the typology, Providence brought Hagar into the home of the Abraham, and through the Sarah's unbearable waiting for a son, brought Ishmael into the being. Thus was forecast the moral character and behavior of an untypical nation, for it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondmaid and the other by a free woman, but he who was of the bondwoman was born after flesh, but he of the free woman was by the promise. Which things are an allegory, for these are the two covenants, the one from the Mount Sinai in southern Arabia, there at Horeb, where Moses brought the children of the first two when he brought them out of Egypt, which gendered to bondage, which is Agar. That's the Egyptian mother of Ishmael, Abraham's the father. For this Agar is Mount Sinai in southern Arabia. And this is where Saudi Arabia is at today. That's where that Mount Sinai is at today. They're in the south of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, the city of David, is several hundred miles north of this Arabia. This Mount Hor. And answers to Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage with her children. Jerusalem, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. Let us continue now. We're going to continue on page 59 of a little tract entitled Shepherd Rod by the B.T. Hodder. It says that, for it is written, Rejoice thou barren that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate hath many more children than she which hath an husband. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise. But as then he that was born after flesh persecuted him that was born after the Spirit. Even so it is now. Nevertheless, what saith the Scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son. For the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. So then, brethren, we are not children of the bondwoman, but of the free, Galatians 4:22-31. Okay. Now, how does that translate today with the Adventist and her being a descendant of the Pharisees at the cross? Okay, now, that was Judah that was in charge of the temple at the time that Yeshua died on the cross, and that Judah was the house of David. So now the Adventist church is not the house of David until she's joined with Judah, and Judah is your shepherd rod people, the Davidian, Seventh-day Adventist. And the 10 tribes is a Seventh-day Adventist church. So when it talks about the bondwoman and the free woman, or the free woman is that pure woman. That's mentioned right there in Revelation chapter 12. And let's might just turn to that and read it right quickly. Revelation chapter 12. It says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of the 12 stars, and she being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. We're going to continue on with the chart now, explaining to you that this is the woman. And she got the moon under her feet here. She got the crown with 12 stars, representing the 12 patriarchs, representing the 12 apostles. And when I say 12 patriarchs, I'm talking about the sons of Jacob. You can read about the 12 sons of Jacob there in Genesis 49. Okay. Now it says that this woman right here is your free woman from heaven. She's the church of the firstborn, which is written in heaven. That's the church we belong to right now. So here's this old red dragon, Satan, standing before her. She devoured the man-child as soon as it was born. Okay, now let's read about it. Revelation 12:3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. There it is, having 7 heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 7 crowns upon his heads. He's got 7 crowns. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. You know what King Herod he'd heard about Yeshua's birth, and he sent out the three wise men first to continue on to go and find where this child was at and come and give him word. And the three wise men didn't do it, and so he put out a decree that all of the 2 years and younger male children that was born in Israel should be destroyed. So, this is the dragon trying to devour the man-child as soon as he was born. And you know, Mother Mary that gave birth to Yeshua in a manger. That's what the dragon was after, to get him at the time he was born. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto Elohim and unto his son. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of the Elohim, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent. And now, when was this great dragon cast out? He was on the scene in 404 BC, at the date that they give the day that Yeshua was born. And Yeshua lived and died for 33 and a half years on this earth, went back to heaven. Okay. So he says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Okay. Now, let's go read John 12, 31, 32. And this will give us a little bit more insight about when this old red dragon was cast out of heaven. He was there at the birth, trying to incite Herod to destroy him. Okay. So in John 12, 31, 32, it says that, and now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. Okay. And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. Okay, now let's continue here. I want to do a little review of what I just read. It says, Yeshua answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Now is the judgment of this world. Okay. They left out the preposition after this verb. And I just wonder what it sounded like if you put a preposition in there. Now, with the judgment of this world. Now, in other words, now we are in the time of the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. Not only was Satan cast out of heaven, Yeshua went back to heaven and cast him out. Right there in 31 AD, and Yeshua went back to heaven. That's when Lucifer and his angels were cast out of heaven and barred from ever coming back into heaven. And he said, now, and if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me. Has Yeshua ever been lifted up since he resurrected and went back to heaven? Well, he was lifted up off this world, went back there, and he was coronated as King of Kings and Sovereign of this world. That took place in heaven. So he said, and if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. He's talking about draw all of the righteous men and the unrighteous. He said all men. meaning that once I make the supreme sacrifice and shed my blood for the whole human race and redeem those that follow the blood system from Adam down to cross, I'm here to redeem those and to make my blood available now for the New Testament period, that everyone that's to come here in the New Testament that wants to bear themselves of the new and living way through my blood that I can shed afresh in the first apartment in the heavenly sanctuary. Make that available for anybody that wants it. That's what it means if I be lifted up. In other words, if I'm offered up as an offering and a sacrifice, and I make my blood available for those in the New Testament, those that are preordained for salvation, that's who Yahshua made himself available for. Those that were preordained for salvation. Now you can read about that in Romans chapter 8, verse 28 through 30. For whom he did foreknow, then he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his dear Son. Whom he did foreknow, he also predestinated. So he has to foreknow you from the creation of the world. And then he predestinates you to be conformed to the image of his Son and to have eternal salvation. Okay, now let's get back to our reading here from the little tract. Nevertheless, what saith the Scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son. For the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free one. So, when was the bondwoman cast out in the time? It was Hagar, Sarah's bondmaid, that she stepped aside and give to Abraham to bring forth a seed. And so she was the bondwoman, and her son was Ishmael, firstborn of the flesh by Abraham. This is Abraham's planning and devising, him and his wife. Yahweh had a different plan. He already told him that he's going to give them the promised seed. They got impatient and decided they'd make it happen themselves, and that's what constitutes man doing it himself. Depend upon his own flesh to accomplish what Yahweh has promised he's going to do anyway. So, we're talking about the bondwoman and her son Ishmael were in charge of the temple at the cross, in the form of the Pharisees. Okay? So as soon as Yahshua resurrected, before he resurrected, actually he established his 11 disciples, had gotten rid of Judas Iscariot. He purified the 11, sanctified them, and set them up as his leaders of the New Testament church. Started off, called the Apostolic Movement of the Nazarene Creed. Yahshua lived in Nazareth, for 18 years growing up. So he's from Nazareth, actually. And so they said that the disciples formed the Nazarene Creed, the followers of the Yahshua. Okay. So then, brethren, we are not children of the bondwoman. That's those that are born after flesh, the Pharisees, and their children, but of the free. And that's in Galatians 4:22-31. Clear it is that Hagar and Ishmael's coming into the household of Abraham foreshadowed a flesh-born, not spirit-born people, the descendants of Jacob, ancient Israel, coming into the household of the Yahweh. Not through the spiritual birth, but through the natural cause. It is also clear that Hagar's rebellion against Sarah forespoke the rebellion of the rabbis against the apostolic congregation, and that Ishmael's persecution of Isaac pointed out the Jews' persecution of the Christian. Okay. At last, Abraham's disinheriting Hagar and her son, sending them away once and forever, was a preview of the Elohim's disinheriting and discharging from his household the carnal-minded Jews who failed to become converted, reconciled, or born again. fail to bury the carnal body and to arise with the spiritual one according unto the promise. Never, therefore, will the carnal Jew any more than the carnal Gentile ever with the saints inherit the kingdom of Abraham. No more than Ishmael inherited Abraham's wealth or ever have any part in his glorious promises, except they be born again, born of the Spirit, into the holy family of the Elohim. Romans 11:23. Having glanced through these three church periods with their varied priesthoods, we now come to the second phase of the typology. And this we shall quickly and even more realistically see as we now review the topological drama of the ages with the aid of the accompanying chart. Now this chart right here, beats you out of it's drawn it. And I can have it made up into a big chart and you kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about here. It says, which graphically unveils the advancing and truth and urges our compliance with the truth. By the means of this chart, the Church of Elohim is quickly seen in 5 different categories by the periods. The first 2 are within the typical, and the last 3 are within the antitypical. Okay, so we have 5 different parts. We have number 1, the Noetic time. Number 2, the patriarchal time. And number 3, the kingdom temporal. And number 4, the evangelical. And number 5, the kingdom eternal. For the typological seed of the woman is born in the 2 typical periods, the Noetic and the patriarchal, and reaches the spiritual maturity during the ensuing 3 antitypical periods, namely the kingdom temporal, the evangelical, and the kingdom eternal. In the typical are the natural born children Cain and Abel, Ishmael and Isaac, Esau and Jacob, a good and a bad in each instance. And in the antitypical they find their antitypes as follows. Allegorically throughout the church history are seen on the one hand Canaanites, those who are worshiping Elohim and not as his commands, as he commands, but as their desire and convenience demand. And on the other hand are seen Abelites, those who are worshiping Elohim precisely according unto his will, and who moreover for thus doing incur the displeasure of the Canaanites, who in anger and jealousy slay them. Thus the martyrs. Then mercy brought forth Seth to carry on the part which Abel was circumstantially forced to leave. Cain, the firstborn, represents, according unto the Bible order, a class of ministry, while Abel and Seth, the younger, necessarily represent a class of laity. Think about that. Now the firstborn is actually designated as the ministry. Okay. And so when I joined Rose Johnson in 1970 Gilead Center, he was designated as the minister, and he was, in charge of the candlestick, and I was a lay worker. Now, 2003, when I took his place, Gilead Center came to a close, they had a change of the guard, then I became the minister of the candlestick of Zechariah 4, the 10th one. Okay. Rose Johnson was the minister of the 7th candlestick, and I then became the minister of the 10th. And so anybody that comes in and assists me are counted as laity. Okay, thus were the ministry and laity hypocrite, martyr, and saint typed in the very beginning of the human race. You know, Cain was the hypocrite. Isaac, the firstborn son through the promise, through the will of Elohim, can only represent a class of the ministers who are placed in that holy office through the promised spiritual birthright, born again, divinely appointed. Ishmael too being Abraham's firstborn son, but not through the legal marriage or promise, he circumstantially represents a class of carnal ministers who are led to that office not through the spiritual birthright and a call from the Yahweh of the vineyard, but only through the favorable opportunity. In this manner was dramatized the character of the self-willed Jewish rabbis, the Ishmaelites, and the Anakites who persecuted the apostles, the Isaacites, and the Anakites. Okay. Esau and Jacob being twins and the last in this line of the typology, they therefore foreshadow two classes of people living at the same time in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Now keep in mind, when I joined Gilead Center in Turner, Texas, the Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist Church, I was not leaving the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Impossible. If you go from one feeding pasture to the other, it's impossible to leave the Seventh-day Adventist Church, because you take her foundational doctrines with you. And you always teach her the foundational doctrine of Seventh-day Adventist, but you build to them with new light and new truth unfolded. And that unfolds in the succeeding feeding pastures, like Mount Carmel, Shepherd Rock. That was the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist. And then in 1970 is Mount Gilead was Branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventist. So you don't leave the church until the church closes down. So Gilead Center closed down in 2002, and then I was kicked out of the church. And now I'm the head of the new movement, and that's House of David, tribe of Judah, lawgiver. Yeshua sitting at the helm of this kingdom for sure. Okay, and so these are people living at the same time in the church period subsequent unto the one which Isaac represents, the last, the Laodicea. Okay, so Isaac represents the last of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Given birth, Rebecca, his wife, giving birth to Esau and Jacob in 1970 in Turner, Texas. And that was the third feeding pasture. That was the last. Esau being the firstborn of Rhodes W. Johnson, he's the minister. Prefigures an Esauite ministry who, for as little as a mess of parties, forfeit their position unto a Jacobite laity. Now I understand. And so I was there for 33 years learning my lessons under Esau. I learned all of the things that I needed to know to carry me into the 12th hour and then to graduate me into being the minister and not the laity. And in amplification of the subject of spiritual crosses, long ago emphatically forewarned the Esauites, saying, in the mighty sifting soon to take place, we shall be better able to measure the strength of Israel. The signs reveal that the time is near when the Yeshua will manifest that his fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor. This brings the end of our study this hour. You can contact us at the 11th hour. Call us number 11. We're going to close this service now with a song entitled In the Garden. I come to the garden of Lord, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of Yah is close, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there. Na, na, so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we